Welcome to Painting with Shawna on Thursdays. I am so glad that you're here and I made it. It's been another kind of busy week, but that's kind of normal and that's all right. Life is like that. It's warming up, which is wonderful and exciting. Everybody's happier because spring is coming and the light is more, and we all survived the daylight, losing an hour on Sunday. It's kind of interesting. We might be losing that change given what's happening in the States and the bill that is gone to the Congress. We'll wait and see. I don't think it would be a sad thing if that was gone. Anyway, we are on week 2 of our Warbler. I am going to do a little bit of gold leaf on again today. I have a pen. I have a fancy pen, an adhesive style pen. And so I've got some ones that will be a line of gold. So we're going to play with that. And we're going to work further on the bird. I didn't get as far as I had wanted to because I spent a lot more time at the computer doing video stuff for my YouTube channel. I think I'm going to announce tonight that I'm going to every second Friday. I think that will be more functional and I will get more painting time and if I do that. Anyway, the mic is working. The camera's on. Let's get going. Okay. Here we are. So you can see the lines I've got drawn in here. So I think that's what we're going to do is we're going to start with the adhesive. So I'm going to do a little area over here. I'm shaking it up. I have to get the adhesive going. Oh, I thought it was a finer line than it is going to be. Oh, okay. I should have primed this first. Who knew? Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to do a line here and hope for it's going to be way thicker than I anticipated. I'm going to have to see if there's a thinner version of this out in the world. I bought it at the same time as I bought my other stuff. All right, so we're just going to leave that. And then what I'm going to do is some adhesive for another section here. Let's see, let's do a hole. So some of the triangles, okay, little jars with big hands. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I got it. Adhesive sticks. Some of the triangles are whole and some are empty, just a line. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see this pattern. So it's not the same as the last painting I did. This is a different pattern on purpose. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. So I'm just going to fill this in and then we have to wait that 15 minutes for it to cure and dry and get to the point of being just tacky. Make sure we get it all and cover the black line too from the graphite paper. So we have this one here. Oh, I can see that it's pooling, which is interesting. And that one there. And that's what we will do for gold leaf on this one. And I have a different pattern for the next painting as well. So when they're in my bathroom, they will be quite fun. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, so let's get my paintbrushes in order here. This one. Oh, maybe it's this one here. Okay, we're getting going here. So I've been building up this area, but I still have a lot of work to do. It was really interesting. This needs still to be a little lighter and there still needs to be more lightness in here. So let's see if we can, in fact, yeah, let's start with that. We're going to start with that. I've got different brushes here. And add some of that light in and get it brighter. Because that's where the light is striking the head of this little warbler. So I build up in layers. If you've been watching for any length of time, you know that I build up and build up until I get to where I want it to be. I'm not a fast painter. I'm a meticulously slow painter, but I get where I want to go by just taking my time. I'm going to come down to the next step just a little bit, just to bring that bridge in between the two. Yeah, give it more. To get a sense of roundness, you need at least 3 value shifts. So we have the light medium, and the middle light and the dark light. To get that sense of shape, you have to have that. Now here we don't have that sense of shape. That's all incorporated in the whole body, not in a specific area. Here we have that sense of shape, so we need at least 3 values to create that look. Okay. Let's think about, where are we at here? I need to put a timer on so I'm paying attention to the stickiness, so that I don't miss it by being too busy. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. That's going to be a problem. So let's take this brush and lift out. Okay, so now I've learned that this pen is thinner and gravity pulls it down. So I'm not sure how well that's going to work, but you know, it's all trying. It's all learning. Okay, let's back up here, and I want to see what needs to be done. I can back up my screen a little bit here. I'm going to back up my camera just a touch. There, that's a little bit better. Okay, so where are we at? I see that this shape needs correcting. So I'm going to bring in my dark value here, and I'm going to correct this shape. Just back up and look at it. Oh, that's better. And I'm going to soften the edge of it. And it definitely needs a couple coats of paint still on here because it's kind of streaky, but we'll get there. We'll get there. The other thing I see is all these little this area here. So maybe that's where I need to focus tonight, is this tiny little area, and then we'll do some of the branches. I think maybe just up here we'll do this branch here, and then we will yeah, we'll just see where we're at. So let's get, what I found interesting when I got into the tail feathers and the wings is that this is a low chroma blue, which I created using bone black, and bone black is a low chroma blue, but this is more neutral, a neutral gray. So I'm using my neutralized gray combination to create this shape and these shapes in here. And it's all value shapes, so you have to. So the neutralized gray has been neutralized with a raw umber. So it's the bone black with a raw umber, or ivory black with a raw umber. Okay. Okay, that's something I'm seeing there too that I need to correct. I hadn't noticed that it needs to be out a little further and a little pointier. I think that's more, yeah, that's more accurate. I'll let that dry and then I'll put more paint on it to correct it even further. So we're 3 minutes in. I don't know if that's going to tack up. I have no idea. We'll just leave it alone and just hope for the best. And I certainly have learned right away that the pen needs to be flat, not upright, but that's all right. Here is this shape. So I'm trying to get some of those little hints of lighter areas in here without getting too many. When I get to the really big details, like the little tiny details, I will actually have to sit down to do that so that I can be almost eye view with it and not have my head get in the way when you're watching. So if you're watching from Facebook, say hello, or from YouTube. If you're wanting to sort of keep up with what news is happening in my art world, I have a kind of weekly newsletter that goes out, and it will, next week we'll share an image of the next bird that I will be painting. Oh, no, that needs to be darker. And it has stories. This week I have the fox is now hunting in my backyard. Okay. So I got up and there was all these, because of course they're nocturnal, there was all these holes in our, in a snowbank, all this dug up holes in a snowbank, which was interesting. And and during the day, I saw the fox here, and sure enough, it was bouncing in there. And then the next day when I got up, the fox had been bouncing in other places. So they're getting the voles, because we have voles in our yard. Every summer we are vole hunters. Okay. So you can hear me sort of moving around the lid for my painting container, because asparagus, haha, acrylic dries out so quickly. I keep it in a bin that's got moisture on the lid of it so that it slowly evaporates into the container and keeps the air moist and keeps the paint moist when I've gotten beyond 1 week. Like last week I could have it open, but this week I've had to have it closed. I think we're almost there. A little bit more, and then we can do that gold leaf and see if that one works. I don't know. Okay, let's keep going with the tail feathers here. It goes beyond here and comes up here. Okay, and we have that subtle shift, so we need to create that subtle shift by adding a lighter value in, just a little bit lighter, and a little bit lighter than that even, it looks like. Okay. There we go. It's got a long way to go on that tail, but at least the basic shape seems correct. I'm going to add a little bit of that hint of darkness between the shadow. There's a little bit of cast shadow happening here, so I'm going to add a little bit there. You can see why I'll need to sit down, because at this point it becomes these little bits of information that creates that look of being realistic. Okay. Interesting shapes. I see one of the shapes I've got wrong on that tail. So let's take some of that background color. So when I'm making larger amounts of paint, I use these little salad dressing containers to hold it and to store them. And I just keep spritzing a little bit of water every time I open it up. I spritz it and on the lid, and that keeps it fresh for quite a while. But what I'm noticing here is I need to bring this in. And I think it's almost time to do the gold. So let's bring that in, get that shape correct. Bring it in, make sure I'm not getting in the way, because I'm concentrating, and doesn't always mean I'm paying attention to where my shoulder is or my head is. And round it. Okay. Okay, let's get that gold leaf and see if that pen worked, or if it's not going to work on a standing up sort of way. Okay, I have my brush. And I actually have, I'm going to use this one here. So it comes in leaves like this. So there's one after another, so that you can attach it on and have it in place. Ew. And it's all, okay, I'm just gonna touch it with the plastic on and then lift it and move it off carefully. Don't care if all of it comes off, it can just go around, but I want to see if I can get over here, and I don't know if that's going to work. Oh, maybe it is. We'll see. And because I got that plastic, I can do it with my fingers, because this stuff is pretty fragile, and they call it metal leaf, not gold leaf. So, oh, no, it's not. Okay, let's just slowly take that off. I have to say, this playing and doing this kind of stuff is a lot of fun. Messy, but fun. Oh, excuse me. Okay. So you can see where I didn't have enough glue because it's coming off, or something's happened there. Maybe I did have enough glue. I just need to put another piece on top to fill it up. Maybe not. We'll just leave it there. And we're going to hope that this comes off nicely with the soft brush. Put it back underneath that plastic page. What I can anyway. Okay. You know, this is all experimenting. It will work the way it's going to work, and it's going to be successful or not. Just because we're playing with it means that, you know, perfection is not what I'm after here. Whew, What a mess this makes. No wonder I don't do it standing up. Well, I think that's going to be really pretty once that sort of dries off. I'm going to let that dry a little bit more before I come and pull that little section, strange section off. Okay. Though I might come in with a harder brush just to get the edge. I don't know if that's going to work. Okay, let's get back to the bird, because that's really where I need to focus. Okay. So we've got the basic shapes in here all right. They'll need refinement. Let's build up these little white shapes that I'm seeing in here. I need my small brush for that. Okay, and those are fairly light shapes, so I'm going to bring in my value 9. I can darken them if I need to, but I can at least see them compared to what I've created before. So we have this shape here that comes down and around. Oops, too far, so let's dry that off and reshape it here a little bit so that it doesn't go quite so far and have such an impact. Okay, there we go. And then I see that there's a thin shape here and a thicker shape right along here. Okay. Does it need to be up higher? Maybe that's what's... Nope. And another shape here. I'm just putting my eyes back and forth, back and forth. Now I'm going to stand back to make sure that I'm getting the shapes correct. So I'm going to flatten them out a little bit with my brush by removing some paint. Get a little bit more paint on my brush. We have this here. We have this here. And I'm looking at, okay, here, here, another one that comes all the way in here, but not rounded like that down there, pushed back. Okay, I'm thinking that this one is a little too far forward, so let's make that disappear and look at it in comparison to the one underneath. Sometimes you have to step back to actually see if you're too close in And what am I seeing there? I think there's another little one this way here I'm thinking I'm seeing. And then there are 3 that are going this way, just at the tips of the little feathers. Okay. General idea, not perfect. Well, that will come when as I move along here, but I generally have the direction right. Do I have it generally right? I might not. I might need a little step up here, and a little step down here, and a little step down here, so that I get that angle that I'm seeing. And then I'm going to make that angle happen by moving the paint around. Oh, that's better. Okay, now I've got the angle. Now I can come in and make sure that the shape is somewhat correct. It's little pieces of movement along the way. Gold gets stuck everywhere. Okay. Okay. General idea. Still trying to work out where this is actually coming to. It's coming, that one comes there, and then this one comes flatter out here. Okay, just keep on working here. I'm just going to kind of move around a little bit on the bird here as I'm getting shapes better on the beak. And again, we need that 3 value shift to create the roundness of the beak. We've got the dark side, but then we have this light side that is rounded. So let's see what values we need here to do that. Now that's a good sort of intermediate step. And what I'm going to do is bring my brush in, make sure that it's pretty dry, and I'm just going to soften the edge here and soften that together. And then I'm going to bring the light on the top. And I'm going to soften it into that middle light. I'm going to bring that in here. And then I'm going to soften it. Make sure that that brush is not too moist, because, okay. Needs another layer, but I'll let that dry till I can get to that layer. Let's look at the eye. The light is coming from this direction, so the eye is not, it's rounded, so it's capturing some of the light. And I'm going to put a little extra light in, because what I want to do is make the eye stand out a little bit more. So I just put a little bit of paint, and then I take a slightly damp brush and I move it around, because I don't want it to be a blob of paint. I want it to be a hint of paint. Pull some of it off with my finger because it's too much. And then just soften that edge to brighten that eye a little bit more. Oh, I think that's much better. Much better. We also have some light areas in here. We're going to just, oh, no, not that light. Whoa. Yep. It's funny what you think is, see if that's too light still. Yeah, that's going to be still too light. Okay, so we're at value 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So 5 is the lightest place in here. Oh yeah, that's better. I just want to give it some texture because I can see that it has some interesting texture. And I can see that it has some dark textures, dark little feathers, further beyond value 5. So I'm going to bring in the value 3 and just bring in little touches of that. Trying not to create a pattern that is so rigid that it looks like, you know, it's not random enough. A little bit more of that value 5. And this is the value 5 of the bone black gray value. We're going to just put it into different places here. And then I'm going to soften them because I don't want them to be hard lines. I just want them to be shapes in there. Okay. And I see that there are some shapes like that here too. Oh, a little bit lighter than that. Or is it, maybe it's the darker ones that I need to put in. Yeah, it's the darker one, so I'm going to put in some more dark. And I'm thinking about the shape of the head and how the feathers are moving across around the side of the head. And it comes down just beyond here. Okay. And a little bit here. There's some of that dark. I am seeing that it has a bit of a nostril. Living organisms like to breathe. So I'm going to put that nostril in place here so that I have that context. Okay. It's almost like it needs to be even thinner, this beak. So I'm going to bring that up by just doing this. I'll bring in the darker paint again, but reshaping it, thinking about the shape, letting it dry, painting it over. Okay. Is it... Oh, I might have curved it too much still. Just a little bit more correction there. Aye, that I think is a much better shape for the beak. Okay, so we're going to bring in some of that dark to the point and along here. And it comes down along that edge of where I've just lightened it to reshape it. And what I can do is come in and just pounce down that reshaping area just a little bit so that this edge is not hard. It's blending in more. Okay. Okay. There we go. So if you have any questions, ask the questions below, and I will come up and answer them when I'm done the live stream. At the probably next week, I'll put out see if we can paint something different actually than birds maybe. What would you be interested in? A still life, in an animal? Just put that down in the comments below, and I will take that into consideration when I'm working out where I go next. Okay. Come up here. This area is dried again, so I want to come in and lighten it even a little bit more. And then I'll blend it into that middle light. I just need that light to be lighter. And the same with across the top of the cap of the yellow warbler. Just a little bit lighter there. And then I will blend it into, soften the edge and blend it into. That's better. Look at that. What a little bit of paint can do. All of a sudden you're there, and it's a happier bird as a result. Okay, so I'm noticing shapes in here that need to be changed. So let's see which value I'm working with here. Yeah, that's good. Let's come in and change this shape here and in around here. Step back to look at it, because when I get too close, then I don't get the, or I'm looking at a strange angle, then I don't get the shape as nicely as if I step back and look. This is why I stand up to paint until I get to the detail portions of the... Okay, what do we think? A little bit more light on there. Not that it's light, but it's reshaping and thinking about the shapes that I'm seeing and how I can make them be more realistic and more accurate. And here's a straight one. Blending it slowly across. In the early days, I used to paint still lifes, and I did all kinds of things. I painted houses, Greenlandic houses. I painted all manners of things before I sort of settled into painting birds. I think the most fun I had was painting a donut and a Tim Hortons. And if you go onto my YouTube, it's actually in watercolor. And it's a narrated watercolor painting that I did for my second level class, actually, because it taught a whole bunch of different skills. It taught how to be more random, like it taught little spaces so that you protect it with the what's it called? Liquid masking fluid. And it had shadows, and it had cast shadows over top of an object, and it had letters that changed because it was somewhere in the light, somewhere in the... So it was a really interesting class because you learned a whole bunch of different skills. I'm just going to look, stand back and look. And it's in one of my older ones from 2016, the first time I tried to launch YouTube. And discovered I wasn't quite ready for that at that point. I feel more ready, but I'm also finding it's taking a lot of time that I think I need to sort of back off and just do every 2 weeks do a video. And then I can throw up the 1-minute videos, which I did put out this week, was the 1-minute yellow warbler video. You can see that on Facebook and on YouTube. I like that little series because it's just, it's fun. It's just fun. And sometimes, that's, you know, you do things because they're fun. Okay, so here, let's think about, now that these light areas are dry-ish, dry, they should be, I'm just going to darken up and build these shapes up of the feathers, because the tip has the white and then the rest of the feather is quite dark. So I'm on value 87654, value 4 for this shapes. And if I need to darken them, I can do that. But right now I'm just going to put it in here It comes down and around, and it comes this way. Yeah. Okay. And then, where are we? We've done that one. Done that one. Now we're doing this one here. So this one comes around and down. Okay. Okay. Now let's do the next one, which is there, and then this one is here, and then here. We'll just, okay, that gives me the basic ideas. That gives me a starting off point. Now I can refine it even further and work with that. Let's see if we can correct this area here. I'm going to need a bigger brush than I have. Where is... Okay, I guess I'm going to use... Oh, there it is. That's the brush I'm looking for. Okay, so let's talk about this area here. You know, I mixed a value string of cadmium yellow light and cadmium yellow medium, and then what I've done is I added in that neutral gray to neutralize it, because I discovered that it wasn't a pure tone, that it was actually a neutralized tone. So let's see if we've got, we still have some form happening here, so we're just going to bring it. And even though I've added the neutralized gray in, you can still see that it's yellow. It's not as pure yellow because I've added the neutralized gray in, but it's, I'll add some of that lighter yellow in it, that lighter neutralized gray, and I can see some of it here. And I'll bring my brush in and I will just touch it and soften them together. Okay, that's looking better, eh? Okay, now we need the darker, because it is still getting more light on the top than it is as it goes down. So let's see if we've got a darker value and a darker, let's see if, yellow's a tough color to work with because it's quickly, even though it's still in the yellows, it you know, it's just one of those colors that's a little harder to work with because it's that's because it's yellow. And how you darken yellow is by adding, depending on the yellow you're working with, a low chroma version of it. In terms of, for cad yellow light, I add, okay. And then I'm still seeing a little bit more pure tone on there that I want to blend in. I'm going to just come in with a little bit of the pure tone. So I'm just going to touch it right there. It could be even a little lighter. So let's dry my brush off, make sure I don't get any puddles of, and I'm just going to add a little bit lighter value in there. And then I'm going to bounce it down and bounce it in and soften it in. So there, see, just all of a sudden, whew, now we have a shape happening. And we see a little bit of that happening in around here too. So very little paint and softening it out. I think I took too much paint there. So let's bring some of that darker paint in again that we used earlier. And just touch it there and bounce it back in to that lighter area so that it fades in a little bit better. Okay, there we go. When I stand back, now that has some dimension and it's doing what I want it to do. Okay. Oh, he's a cutie, isn't he? What a cutie. Let's work on the branch now. Now the branch is mostly, I'm going to spritz my paint to make sure it stays fresh. It's mostly a neutralized gray with some burnt umber in it and raw umber. So I mixed up a version of that in different values. As long as I don't put too much yellow in there, that might be a problem. With a little bit of the raw umber. And then I can just put it in place here. Oh, I need a bigger brush. Let's not kill myself over that. Little brushes are great for detail. They're not so great for covering. Now the branch has, it's a round shape. So I want to sort of step over a value onto this side here. Just bringing that, remember we need 3 values. This is something I'm working on a video on painting a sphere, and that's what I've been working on, is this 3-value idea to create form, to create that transition that gives an illusion of form. So I'm just building it up. I'm going to come in with some lighter and build that up. And we're going to see that it's not enough light. I'm going to add more light. With a little bit more of that raw umber in it, because it is sort of that browny gray, some more warm gray. And then come in and add in. Okay, so at this point I can come in and just touch the edges of everything. Some of that neutralized lighter gray in, neutral gray, and just sort of give some shapes here that I can take that little bit of paint and soften it out. So it gives some texture, but is not. Okay, we'll leave it there for right now so it can dry. Let's go over and put in, okay, we can do that side there. We're going to come in and do this side of the branch, make sure I'm not touching anything. Make sure my head's not in the way as I'm looking. Still want it to be a little darker than the background, because it is a little darker than the background. So let's make that happen. And that can be the light, and then the darker on the darker side. Yeah, that's better. So this brush holds a lot more paint too, so that's nice. Okay, and then, oops. I don't worry if I've gone over the edge right now, because I'm going to come in and clean that up by just pushing the paint forward. And then the other thing I'm going to do is just soften this edge before I even add the dark on. I'm just going to soften all the way up. And then when I add the dark on, it's had some time to, because it dries so quickly. Okay. Okay, so our little bird is coming along. I still have a ton of work to do in here and in the shoulder area here, and correcting the correction that I made. I now have to make the corrections in paint, but that's all right. And all the branches and the feet and the, yes, you know, it's a step-by-step process. Okay, let's continue go up that branch with that lighter side. With that low chroma orange and yellow, because I'm using that mixture of burnt umber and raw umber. Okay, soften the edge, move it around. And I lost that ability to do that because that already dried, so I'll just put a little bit more paint on so I can soften the edge. So when you're creating form on a small area, just the combination of the light and the dark, having one light and then the dark on the other side, and smoothing them together will create that third value in between if you don't have space. I mean, you can use a little brush and do that too, but who wants, you know, sometimes you don't want to spend that much time on something. Okay, so let's get the little chroma and the darker value. Yeah, that's probably not quite dark enough, eh? I think we could go another value darker with the raw umber, burnt umber combination. Okay, now I probably have too much paint on my brush, but if we're, ooh, yeah. Yep, clean the brush off. That's exuberant. Touch that edge and soften that. Come in with the dry, my brush that I love to use for softening. I'm going to pick some more up next time I go to the art store. Okay. I'm going to bring that chroma down a little bit more. It's still too, I want it to be more in the grays because I'm noticing that this is very grayed out. And I don't know exactly what kind of tree it is. That's my goal this summer, is to go out and spend time and pick branches and figure out trees and figure out what I'm looking at. Okay, so soften this edge to create that illusion of form. Okay, that's pretty good. And we'll just come in with the brush and just move it back and forth. And there are times you're going to have to bring in another value in there if it's a bigger space. But that gives a sense of space. Well, you know what? Our time is done tonight. Oh, man, those hours go fast. Just hold on one second. Close up my paint so that it stays fresh. Change cameras. Well, thank you for joining me today. The yellow warbler will stay in my collection, so it's not going to be auctioned off. Answer in below if you would like me to paint an animal or a still life, and I can come up with some ideas, and then we can do a little vote. And maybe I'm going to paint glass because you want me to paint glass, because I'm able to paint just about anything except for faces. That I haven't practiced enough to be able to do. So stick with animals, birds, still lifes, and inanimate objects. And let me know down below what you think you would be interested in. Thank you for coming today. We will see you next Thursday. I am looking forward to that. Okay, take care. Have a creative week. Bye.